Hey everybody, PC Outcast here, back with more Everlasting Summer, and we are carrying on with Yulia's route. And apparently everybody can see her now, and they're all freaked out. The blood hammered in my temples. The world became darker for a moment. Then the next, it painted itself with unimaginable colors. The girls looked at me with surprise and even with fear. Yulia stopped hissing again and again looked indifferent to everything around her. Alright, I declared and started to walk along the road in the direction of the city, which moved a step further away for every step I took. No one followed me. The sun started setting beyond the horizon, and the city, still visible in the east, was little by little being absorbed by mist. I couldn't tell where it is really located because the fields ahead were disrupted by forests, but its buildings still rose above them as the central element of the diorama. The city stood mute, as if hovering over the world, looking down with silent reproach at my trivial attempts to reach it. According to my calculations, I'd walked more than 2 or 3 kilometers, which was the theoretical distance to the city. I stopped to rest in the shade a couple of times, and the evening coolness became my savior. However, there could be no city at all, and I'm just running like a hamster in a wheel, feeling the exhaustion of the distance I covered, but with my destination somewhere outside the cage. I remembered yesterday's thoughts about the key hanging right under the ceiling. It would certainly be useful to me now. Maybe there are no answers at all. I'm too tired even to think about it. Plus, that enraged outburst with the girls. Screw it. I sat down on the side of the road, raising a little dust storm from the ground, which covered me and made me cough. Tears filled my eyes. When I opened them again, Yulia stood before me. There seemed to be advantages to being a cat. You move much faster than humans. Where are you going? She asked, paying no attention to my words. I'm going right there. I waved my hand in the direction of the city. But why? Where are the others? They went back to the camp. I see. So why are you going there? Because I got lost in thought. What else is there to do? What will happen if I just sit here? Nothing. That's what I mean. Yulia looked at me intently and sat beside me. I would like to help, she suddenly said in a quiet voice. Then help? I don't know how. Tell me about that city, about this world. Why am I here? How do I get back? I don't know. Well, I mean, it always was like that. You come to the camp in a bus, spend a week here, and then, regardless of the outcome, everything repeats. And there are many of you. They're all different. What do you mean, different? Not like you. You're the only one like this. That's why I can talk to you, and the others just don't understand. What don't they understand? They disappear sometimes. Yulia kept talking, ignoring my question. That's the way things should be. I have no idea why, but they should. They do not return here after 7 days, but then new ones come who are just like the previous ones. Everyone is the same in the beginning. Almost the same. The differences come after some time, especially when they have understood that everything should repeat itself again and again. Does that mean that I'm destined to walk in circles too? I don't know. This time it's different. Why does it all happen? Who are those others? She looked at me uncomprehendingly. But they're you. What do you mean, me? You and all those others. She groused, trying to find the right words. You're all the same. So, are they clones of me or something? What are clones? Copies, like 2 identical mushrooms you prepare for the winter. There are no 2 identical mushrooms, Yulia said seriously. Imagine that there are. Identical mushrooms. Maybe. I don't know. God, this is a nightmare. I put my head on my knees and closed my eyes. We sat in silence for several minutes. I really wanted to understand what was on Yulia's mind. After all, even she really knows nothing. Even if she really knows nothing, then she should at least have some thoughts about the things that are happening. Okay, what should I do? I asked in a serious tone. She looked at me uncomprehendingly again. What would you advise me to do? I don't know. What would you do in my place? Me? In your place? But that would never happen. Yulia laughed loudly. You are you, and I am me. Just imagine it. You have your mind, then you should have an imagination. Well, it wouldn't change anything. Why not? Because it is the way of things. It's better and less troubling this way. So, is it less troubling to sit in this camp and wait for the endless repetitions? Yes. I couldn't agree with that. Just couldn't. As long as it's in my power to change something, or even just to try to, I have to act. I rose up from the ground and marched forwards toward the distant city, visible in the crimson rays of the faraway sunset. The road took a sudden turn at last. The buildings, which were just rising above the trees before, disappeared from my sight, and the country landscape in front of me was replaced by industrial suburbs. It was dark already. Scattered bright stars filled the sky, still visible from where I stood, but disappearing above the city, which was full of distant lights from windows and street lamps. A silent, dark night reigned behind me, interrupted only by the warbling of a sleepy night bird, the rustle of grass, and the monotonous buzzing of insects, while in front of me there was a human anthill which couldn't stop talking even for a minute, happily winking with thousands of lights and shouting with millions of voices. The road I walked seemed stranger. It was empty, as if deserted, used by neither cars nor people, like a narrow path leading away from this world into another one. Yulia walked in silence beside me all this time. "Why are you here?" I asked quietly. "I have to be with you." "Why?" "It's strange. The city always was on the right side, and now it's in front of us." She ignored my question. Not much stranger than everything else. I've walked about 10 or 20 kilometers, and it's still so far away. Far away? We may never reach it. I stopped and tried to imagine what awaits me there. Is that city similar to my home one? What is its architecture like? Who lives there? And why did I come to the conclusion that there are many people there? That it isn't just an illusion, one of the lame tricks of the sick world. Even Yulia says that she's seeing all this for the first time. The heck was that? Suddenly the walkie-talkie I still had with me made a nasty sound, and the agitated voice of Olga said, "Semyon, do you copy? Semyon!" After a moment I pushed the button and answered, "Yes?" "Semyon, so much is happening. Come back at once." "What? What is it? What happened?" I asked without much interest. Camp leader, the pioneers, the whole camp was left far behind. Not just a dozen kilometers, but much further. Everything that happened in the last few days lost any meaning, like a nightmare you start to forget. Now, when there was a real world in front of me, I had no other choice but to believe that when I reach that city, everything will end. "Semyon, hurry! There's no time to explain. It's a disaster." The static grew stronger, drowning out the camp leader's voice. "Will you go?" Yulia asked, agitated. "Where? Back there? No, why would I?" "But you want me to go back?" "I don't know. What do you want? Really, what do I want? To get to that city? What I've been doing the whole day? Or something more global, to escape from this world? And what if something bad actually happened back there?" That thought sent a flash of pain in my head. Something happened to Slavia, to Lena, to Yelena, even to Alyssa. Why is the question, why would I care, not bothering me now? But yes, I do care. I got so much closer with them recently. I'd really got used to the life in the camp. But what will happen to the city? Would it disappear as suddenly as it appeared? What if everything went the way Yulia described? No, I should not allow it. The walkie-talkie hissed, but I didn't want to turn it off, in case I heard something again. "So what have you decided?" I had to make a decision. Okay, so Yulia's end is to go back. So that's what we're going to do. But first of all, I'm going to save right here. I guess that one. Save right here so that we can come back and do the other side, take the other choice. Go back. Okay. I forced myself to speak. What? Yulia was surprised. Okay, let's go back. Weren't you expecting this answer? She smiled cunningly. No. Why do you think that? Because you always say that everything repeats itself after 7 days and I can't get out of here. So we'll check it out. Oh, check it out? Shouldn't we check out that city for starters? It's up to you to decide. I looked at her intently. Something seemed to have changed in Yulia, but I couldn't understand what it was exactly. I've already decided, I mumbled. Then we should go. The cat girl made her way across the field in the direction of the forest with confidence. Hey, wait, where are you going? It'll take less time. Less time? The thoughts started spinning in my head furiously, merging into one, which probably wouldn't be a pleasant one. So all this time, I caught up with her in 2 strides and grabbed her tail. Did you know all this time that I could go straight there without wandering for the whole day? Yulia hissed furiously and bared her teeth. I let go of her tail. Woo! No. I mean, I might have known, but you have nothing to do there. In that city? Yes. Why? I don't know. It shouldn't be that way. It's not right. I can't explain. I just know. I turned around and looked at the distant lights. I wonder, could things get any worse? It is not that everything is really bad right now, but what if that city doesn't disappear? And what's happening at the camp? What do Olga's words mean? Should I still hesitate if I have already decided what to do? Alright, let's go. We walked through the forest almost all the way, crossing forest edges and fields just a few times. Yulia seemed extremely satisfied with something. Would you explain what's happening to you? Everything is just so unusual. Because it was not like this before. Everything repeated itself after 7 days? Yeah, I've heard it already. She just smiled in return. Wonder what happened back at the camp. Look. The camp gates were visible in the distance beyond the trees. We started to walk faster. It was clear that something was wrong. Sovyanok seemed abandoned. I could assume that pioneers went to bed, but there were no lights except the street lamps. And why isn't Olga waiting for us with a biohazard squad? She said on the radio that something happened. Strange anxiety had overwhelmed me at once. I looked at Jenda and there... The city. There's no city. Yulia seemed to be surprised too. Surprised for real, so I didn't jump at her with questions. Having reached the camp leader's cabin, I stopped for a moment in hesitation. Images of possible events flashed before my eyes. However, I quickly pulled myself together. This is just some nonsense. There was nothing to support the idea of the science fiction story turning into a bloody thriller. Except for Miku's route. I determinedly pulled the door handle and entered the cabin. No one was inside. Well, no point in staying here then. I rushed to the cabin of Yolana and Alyssa. Without dwelling on my thoughts, I knocked on the door, but only silence responded. I walked around the cabin and looked in the window. It was empty. Well, that doesn't mean anything. They might have gone somewhere. I ran to the canteen. Maybe everybody decided to have a late dinner. However, the door was locked. I went back to the square and dropped onto a bench, exhausted. Enough running, maybe? Yulia had followed me in silence without much interest. Well, true. Why did I start panicking? Though, what if something actually had happened? Well, I'm hungry. I'll go look for something to eat. I didn't object, and in a moment, Yulia silently disappeared in the night. It's either some stupid prank, which was hard to believe, or everyone really has disappeared somewhere. The event itself isn't any stranger than my arrival here, or that mysterious city which showed up and then vanished, but... gotten used to this camp and its inhabitants, and now such a twist. I'd more or less adapted to my new circumstances, now something happens again. I cursed and covered my face with my hands. I'd probably have sat like that for several minutes until tears started to flow, but... my eardrums were almost broken by a loud noise. It sounded like a thunderclap. Whoa. What's happening? But where did it come from? There wasn't a cloud in the sky. I opened my eyes and saw someone in front of me. You? I uttered, stammering. Thunderstorm rumbled in the clear sky, the lightning flashes obscuring the face of the man standing before me. Why the sad face, Simeon? Who are you? I shouted. Calm down. You don't have to get so tense. Nervous cells don't regenerate, you know. My first thought was to run, but my body didn't respond to that idea. The lightning was still flashing brightly, and there was no chance to see the pioneer's face clearly. However, I was sure that I had heard that voice before. "Who are you?" I asked in a quieter tone. "Perhaps you have more appropriate questions? Where's everyone disappeared to?" "They have played their parts, and we don't need them anymore." "Parts? What parts?" "Their parts." "What about the city?" "What city?" I wasn't sure whether I caught a trace of surprise in his voice, or I was just hearing things. "The city there?" I waved my hand in the direction of Jenda. "Ah, you're talking about..." He went silent for a moment. "It's your fault." "I don't understand." "It's because you don't try hard enough." The pioneer raised his voice. You just need to think. Just think. How long have you been here? 5 days? 6? Or 26? 6? Probably. 6? Why 6? Are you sure about 6? Why are you sure? Because you counted the number of dusks and dawns, or because you looked at the date on your mobile phone? I don't know. The pioneer before me lost his temper. I had no clue what he was talking about. 6. Okay, let it be 6, he said calmly. Haven't you been here before? No. Are you sure about that too? I don't know. What if I say that you have been here before? I had absolutely no idea how to react to his words. Something was happening to me, like on the first day here, something inexplicable, terrifying, maybe dangerous. But I don't remember. Why do you have to remember? He fell silent, seemed lost in thought. However, you really don't remember. Well, I'll tell you then. I could hardly hear his words through the sound of the thunder. My eyes were getting teary because of the lightning flashes, but I was afraid to even blink and give this pioneer a chance to disappear. He might really tell me how I turned up here. This is not the first time you've been here. I don't know how many laps you've had, but it doesn't matter. But why? I don't remember anything. You should not remember. You should not, he shouted. Sorry. I decided not to interrupt him. Yes, it's not your first time here, he continued in a calmer voice, but this time is special. It'll be the last one for you. I couldn't understand what his definition of the word last was. Will I get out of here and return to my normal life, or does this mean I'll die here? Well, it's only my opinion. He went silent for a long time. I decided to ask a question at last. How do you know all this? How? Let's say that I'm your brother in misfortune, and... An explosion sounded nearby. It seemed like lightning struck a tree just a dozen meters away from me. I instinctively covered my head with my hands and fell beneath the bench. I don't know how long I was lying there, but by the time I had slightly recovered from the shock, the thunderclaps had stopped. I opened my eyes. Yulia was standing where the pioneer had been standing before. So, you've met your colleague? She smiled and offered me a hand. Shocked, I didn't know what to do and kept laying down. How long are you planning to stay there? I stood up with difficulty. Who was that? If I have to choose the lesser evil, then I would rather trust Yulia than that mysterious pioneer. Well, how should I put it? She got lost in thought. You know, you're not the only one. To be more precise, you're the only one here, but there are more of the same camp, lots of them, and there are more of the same of you, a lot of them too. I didn't understand anything. Some of them can appear in other places, like this pioneer, for example. So you knew all that, but didn't tell me? You didn't ask. She shrugged her shoulders. Should I be afraid? Oh, pardon me. Should I be afraid of him? I don't think you should, although... Should I or shouldn't I? My anxiety grew. I doubt that he can take a physical form, but you should be careful with him. I had received so much information at once that I would need more than a week to comprehend it all. Though, keeping all that in mind, I understood that this information doesn't explain anything at all. So there are lots of people like me. Yes. But how did we get here? I don't have an exact answer for that question. I just know that it is you who came here. Just one person came here, to be more precise. Yulia now looked nothing like that strange girl with the animal ears who was sprinkling sugar on mushrooms. She was the exact opposite. There's confidence in her eyes and even some arrogance, and no sign of her earlier childish infantilism. Who are you then? Me? Yes. Honestly, I have no idea. I stared at her with an open mouth. How's that? You have no idea. The only thing I remember is that I was here. I don't remember anything else. Like, there was nothing else. I just watch you. All of you. And I exist in all camps simultaneously. After recovering from my shock, I continued, and you don't know who you are? Bingo! She laughed. But that's impossible. Well, I would understand amnesia, but all powerful beings can't have it. And who told you that I'm all-powerful? Are you not? Actually, I'm capable of nothing. I can't interfere with the natural flow of events. Didn't you know or see? I know a bit of something. I saw a bit of something. And what will, well, you know. I had no idea how to put the question. Nothing. Usually 7 days pass and one of you leaves the camp. I would even say disappears. Then a new one comes and everything repeats. The number of camps is constant. We spoke about this before. Disappears where? I don't know. That can't be possible. You told me so much, and... Do you think that I'm hiding something from you? No, I said, exhausted. I guess I shouldn't doubt her words, at least for now. Maybe they don't disappear. They just go for another lap? You can't rule out that I can't rule out that possibility, but I don't think they do. What's happening to me now, then? I can't explain this either, but I know for sure that this was meant to happen. And this is something unusual. The course of events is different this time. Pioneer spoke about it too. He might know more than me. But how should I understand all of this? I sighed deeply and covered my head with my hands. I think we'll find that out very soon. Okay, but finally, who are you then? Yulia pouted her lips. I told you before. So do you have memory loss then? No. She thought for a moment. I don't have a memory at all, probably. There was no me before this camp. It didn't exist. But I didn't finish the sentence. Taking into account everything that happens here, there was a lot I could only make assumptions about. And that means I should not be surprised by a girl with animal ears. Are you something like an observer here? Probably. I think that word is the most appropriate. And what about all the inhabitants disappearing after playing their parts? What are you talking about? The pioneer said that. Parts. She moved her ears in a funny way, making me smile. There's something to it, because only you are real here. I mean, that pioneer and all the other ones. How's that? I told you, I don't know. You can assume that I appeared here with a limited amount of knowledge, nothing more. There are things that I am not sure about, and there are things that I know no more about than you. Fine. On one hand, her words seemed logical enough. If you can even talk about logic in such a situation. And what do you suggest to do next? To wait and see how things will turn out. Yes, I can't change anything, I mumbled. Anyway, it's dinner time. She smiled merrily and waved her tail. Didn't you go to look for something? I didn't find anything. I had no time. I saw the lightning and came back at once. Let's go. She went in the direction of the canteen. She'd better stick with me. It might be that there was no pioneer at all. And if I wasn't the only one who can see him, then there would be less grounds to doubt my sanity, which was not feeling very secure lately. Yulia sat down at the table and looked at me. So? What? Dinner? Yes, what about it? I yawned. The time was long past midnight. By the way, how did you open the canteen? You've got to have the skills. No need to continue with this topic. Maybe it's better to go to sleep. Cook, now, she said in a dictatorial tone. Me? I don't see anyone else around. Okay. I slowly walked towards the kitchen. Because of all the talk of food, I suddenly felt hungry. I found a carton of eggs in the fridge and called out to Yulia. Hey, how about scrambled eggs? Well, maybe. Started cooking. Funny the way things turn out. Bizarre and incomprehensible events are happening to me, and yet I'm just standing here making dinner. Just hoping for the best. It's a typical Russian feature, yes. Nevertheless, I am quite sure that nothing bad will happen. And in case of unexpected problems, Yulia will protect me. Although she says that she doesn't know much. In a critical moment, I can certainly rely on her. There's simply nobody else to count on. Just yesterday, nothing was up to me, but at least I had a slight idea what was happening, however now. The only thing left to do is to comfortably lean back in a chair and wait for the installation to be finished. I added grated cheese, mayonnaise, salt, and pepper, and poured the well-stirred mass into the pan. I also found a salami in the fridge and a loaf of bread on the shelf next to it. Oh, good grief, I can't. Again, all tongue-tied. Blah, blah, blah. Soon we were sitting in silence and eating scrambled eggs. Yummy, yummy! It's nothing special, ordinary bachelor-style dinner. Never tried anything like this. Probably better than mushrooms and nuts. That's enough, Yulia answered angrily. When we finished dinner, I said, "Tell me something about yourself, though you probably have nothing to tell." "Probably. How long have you been here?" "I don't know. A long time." "But are you mostly human?" "Well, very likely." "Then how can you be at several places at the same time?" "It's hard to explain. I don't really understand it myself. Let's assume that here and now in front of you, I'm the only one." I could accept such an assumption. In the end, although the fact that Lena had many faces was just one mystery among many others happening here, it was definitely not the main one. At least that's what I thought. "Well, let's assume that, and what do you know about the world?" "I can read and write, if that's what you mean." She laughed. "No, not exactly. Do you know where this camp is located?" "No." "Then maybe you know that I'm not from here, not from this time, not from this reality." "Well, I know, but not any details." "And if I ask you what the year is now?" "I can't answer." I took a deep breath and stared at the window. "In general, you can assume that there are some things I know more about than you, and some I know less." "So what should we do?" "As I told you before, just wait." "Wait? And what are we gonna do?" "What do you want to do?" "I don't know, but forgive me, I don't feel like climbing trees." Okay, then maybe you will tell me something about yourself." "Not now." "As you wish. So what then?" "I don't know, maybe just sit and wait, I don't mind." "But that's so boring." "I don't see any alternatives." So let's go... Come on." She thought for a while. I looked keenly at Yulia. Looks like she really finds everything happening here amusing. Moreover, the current situation doesn't seem strange to her. According to her, there's nothing unusual about it. You know, everything that's happening is not quite normal to me. I don't even understand why I'm not currently hiding somewhere under my bed, trembling at every sound. "It turns out you're brave." I said nothing, but merely smiled. "I've got an idea." I looked at her with interest. "No, I forgot it again." Yulia scratched her cat ears. "Ah, just remembered. Let's go swimming." Now I stared at her in disbelief. "Maybe it'd be better to go to sleep?" "Oh, come on," she pouted. Indeed, the day had been hot and I was soaked with sweat. It's much easier to fall asleep in this heat when you're clean. "Okay, let's go." A few minutes later, we were at the beach. I lazily sprawled on the sand and looked at the river. I immediately felt completely exhausted. You know, I don't actually like swimming. "Meaning you don't know how to swim?" Yulia sat next to me. "Well, it's not that I don't know. Anyway, that doesn't matter. The pioneer is fine, but how could the whole town disappear?" "I told you before, I don't know. Let's go swimming." "I don't want to. I never like to reveal that I'm a lousy swimmer." "Oh, come on, stop it. You can splash in the water near the shore." "Okay, wait, I'll go get my swimming trunks." But Yulia seemed to not hear me and started to undress. What? Are you gonna swim like that?" "Yes, anything wrong with that?" I turned away at the right time. "Aren't you shy?" I tried to speak as calmly as possible, but the reason I did not look at her was because my face was burning rather than out of politeness. "Shy about who, you?" She laughed. "You know what?" I turned around. Yulia was already in the water up to her neck. "Come here." I decided that really he's gonna have the same episode as he had with Slavia. I decided that nothing bad would happen if I stayed in my underwear. I undressed and entered the water. Brr, it's cold. "Move around, you'll get warm. Like me." She started to jump and wave her hands in the water. I felt awkward. You've gone red, Yulia said excitedly. Of course I am. Next to me there's a naked girl, or at least a female humanoid. And that's enough. Whoa, gonna get it on with the cat girl. I turned around. At the same moment I felt Yulia hug me. Is this also part of your program? I understood that I was saying complete nonsense, but nothing more meaningful was coming to my head. What? Well, it's, you know. Suddenly I realized that I was being hugged from behind by a naked, omnipotent being, which is able to exist in multiple realities simultaneously. Right. My brain was instantly overloaded by errors about the lack of system resources. Here it is, blue screen of death. My legs buckled and I started to go under the water. Yulia held me up. There's no need to drown yourself. She was still hugging me. It felt even stronger. I felt even stronger. What are you going to do? Swim, obviously. So that means you're not suggesting anything? I tried to say it with a calm expression, but it didn't turn out very well. Like what, for example? Well, even though you don't remember much, you essentially behave quite reasonably, so you should understand. Well, I don't know, she said slyly. Suddenly I felt something twisting around my thighs. I tried to pull myself away, but Yulia held me tight. Also, motion physics in the water are very different from on land. It's just my tail. A tail. Don't you find it strange that you have it at all? What, you don't like my tail? If you step on my tail, then you're gonna get hurt. Wait a minute. I paused for a moment, trying to phrase the thought I'd just had. So you've seen that series too? What series? The one you just quoted. It's just... She suddenly stopped and thought, don't people say that? Some kind of saying? So you don't know where it's from? No, and who cares? Yulia laughed. Her tail continued to probe my body. Could it be that Yulia still has memories about her time before the camp? Maybe they're hidden somewhere or suppressed. She got that quote somehow. Of course, maybe she heard it from one of the pioneers. But isn't it too early for that show to even exist? The only conclusion is that Yulia seems to be a prisoner in this camp, same as I. Just a more mysterious one. What happened next happened by itself. Even if what I was going to do was dangerous, in the end, I'm a red-blooded man. At that moment, Yulia was not an all-powerful being to me. I was holding an ordinary girl in my arms. Ha! I brought the sleeping Yulia to my cabin. She was surprisingly light. Put her on the bed, collapsed beside her, and closed my eyes. But all my attempts to get to sleep failed. I felt a terrible thirst. Quietly, so as not to wake Yulia up, I got out of bed, pulled on my shorts, and went outside. On the way to washstands, I thought about everything that happened. I didn't care about whether it was right or not. No, that wasn't the main issue. I decided that I just didn't have any other choice in the situation. More important are the possible consequences. Even if Yulia was a little different from me, we could say she was closer to who or what was behind all this, just because she knows more than me, which means... However, blindly assuming or drawing conclusions about anything is a difficult task in this camp. I was sure of that by now. I quenched my thirst and washed myself. I was going back to the camp leader's cabin, whistling a piece from Peer Gynt by Grieg, when someone called out to me. How did you... I jumped on the spot, turned, and saw the silhouette of that pioneer. There's no chance of seeing his face clearly in this darkness. So it's you. So it's you again? Who, me? Not in the sense that I am the one that you've already seen, but in the sense of who, in fact, am I? I don't understand. I remember that Yulia told me that he can't do me any physical harm, and I calmed down a bit. Whatever. Besides, I saw how you were getting it on back there. That gave me the heebie-jeebies. No matter how fantastic a situation is, it's always frustrating when you're caught doing something so intimate. Didn't anyone ever tell you that it's not nice to spy on people? You're upset. No, why would I be? I snorted and half turned towards him, trying in vain to see his face. What has the cat-eared one told you? She has a name. I felt a strong attachment to Yulia, so I didn't hesitate to stand up for her. A name? What is it? An almighty observer? A double-faced Janus? Yulia. I said a bit certainly. Yulia? He started laughing like a horse on meth. What? And who gave it to her? You, probably. Fine, tell me what you want and get lost. Okay, your majesty, just don't be angry. He bowed awkwardly. The sight was so grotesque that I even shuddered. And what has the so-called Yulia told you? I decided there was no point in hiding the information I'd found out recently. She told me that there are many other camps, that you're the same as me, and that after 7 days we leave and never come back. It was disgusting for me to be in the same boat as him, but a fact was still a fact. Yes, that's about right, and what did she tell you about herself? Do you think it's any of your business? Besides, surely you know everything without me. Yes, I know something. I've dealt with her before. His tone was so disgusting that I didn't even want to continue this conversation. Well, if you have nothing more to... No, wait a minute. I haven't finished yet. Now what? Want me to tell you what she's hiding from you? Go on. I'm sure that Yulia had no secrets from me, but in my situation, any information could be useful. Never come back. No, they do come back, and you come back, at least you did before. I don't understand. I did tell you that you had already been here, so after 7 days, it doesn't matter whether you leave on a bus or fall asleep in the forest, you will find yourself sitting on the 410 again. But how? She told you that we just disappear, right? I didn't answer. Well, I can't be sure she's lying. Maybe she just doesn't know everything, but what I said is true. You and I were here many times. Of course, I've been here more times, but that doesn't matter. Alright, you know what? This conversation's going on a lot longer than I thought it was going to, so we are going to pick up in the next episode. Thank you very much for watching. See you next time.